So we have heard from our county supervisor, from Daz Williams. We've heard from Rob Lowe, who we sent there. A lot of people who have, been talking about it, but you lived through it. So, first of all, thank you for being here.
Oh, sure.
So you were in a mandatory or a voluntary?
We were in a voluntary area. They said, you want to move out? And I had a big argument with my daughter that night. I was watching the football game, of course, just like a guy. I wanted to watch the football game, not go off on another voluntary evacuation. So.
Well, a lot of people felt that same way. Everyone had just gotten back to town, and you weren't in mandatory evacuation, so you stayed. So at what point did you know something was wrong, and what happened?
I woke up, for some reason I went to bed. My wife and daughter had said that they were going to go to a hotel, and I thought that was great because then I could finish the football game. But my very smart daughter packed away her bunny in her little cage and put it right near the door in case I had to escape fast. And I knew that if there was a mandatory, firemen would knock on the door and we'd all jump in the car and leave.
Everyone thought they had that kind of time.
Everyone thought they had that kind of time.
Okay, so you wake up.
So I wake up. For some reason I woke up. Don't know why. I was in bed and I woke up and I did something I've never done before. I put on heavy work boots. It was middle of the night. I decided I would go outside. I don't know why I did that either, but I started kicking some dirt out of a drain. Was mad that my shoes were getting wet. All of a sudden, the electricity went out and a bright orange flare went up in the corner. I thought maybe it was the sun rising, didn't know what it was. It was a flare of a gas pipe that had broken. And I happened to look out at the creek and it was dry. And then I just happened to look up and kind of in the orange glare, it looked like the whole mountain was moving. I couldn't really tell, it was just surreal. But then these trees started to drop one after another. And I realized that the whole mountain was coming down towards the strip about 200 yards long.
This is at like 3 in the morning?
Yeah, about 3 in the morning. And so I ran into the house. I thought I would grab the pets and run to the front and try to get in a car and escape. But I grabbed the dog's collar. I missed the bunny, missed the cats, and almost got to the front door, and the whole house caved in from behind.
It caved in because a boulder came through it, or what?
It was not just boulders. It was cars, trees, boulders, 4,000-pound boulders, and they were spitting right through the house like the house wasn't even there and punching out the other side.
So you were next to that happening?
Yeah, and it kind of jumped into a low-pressure area, and in that area, the boulders hadn't popped through the house, so the mud and water was just rising very rapidly, so it's getting up very high, so I started kicking out windows on the way up, and as I'm on a platform, kicking out a window to try to get the mud to come down, I look up and there's my wife and daughter at the top of the stairs. They hadn't left, and they were there at the top of the stairs. So then it was, panic mode. Somehow I still had the dog in my hand. I don't know, I had to drag him around by his collar. So we thought we could see pieces of our house kicking off from the boulders as they came through. And we pushed up, we decided the roof was the best place. So we found this little slot, and we pushed up on the roof, still with the dog, and we have a stone fireplace, and we kind of clung around the stone fireplace. So
so the roof was still there, even though the guts of the house were gone, and then you're all holding on to the chimney.
Yes.
With your dog.
Yep.
Okay, and so then how long did that last before it subsided?
It was about 10 minutes where we didn't know how it was going to end up.
10 minutes must seem like an eternity when you're holding on and watching cars and trees and boulders come down. So then you were able to, you went to a neighbor's house to look for them, right?
So yes, there was, so the neighbors there, and I figured just about then the county fire had fought their way up the street, and they were out on the main street. So I figured we got to get some help here. So I told the firemen this is the one house there was nobody I could find moving. I was hoping that they had vacated. Mm-hmm. So there was a fire captain, Dustin McKibben of Santa Barbara City Fire. He and I went down there, and we heard this little voice just out of this little mud flat in the middle. The shooting propane and the noise of the rocks, and there was just this one little cry. And once the firemen heard that and realized it was a child, then everyone jumped in and pulled stuff out, and Dustin got in there and got his hand on it and pulled him out.
And he was 2 years old.
He's 2 years old.
He is 2 years old.
Ian Benitez.
Yes, and his family, there were 4 family members that died in that.
Yeah.
So he's 2 years old, and he is going to make it. His dad is going to make it,
Yes.
right? So you help pull this 2-year-old out and explain what that's like when that happens.
It's amazing. Well, he came from a half a mile upstream, went through that incredible raging.
It wasn't your
thing.
neighbors you were looking
Wasn't
for.
neighbors.
It came
was
from
another
a half a mile away.
Half a mile upstream, fought through all those boulders, smashed into our house, got deposited in that pile, and was in that mud and muck and down that debris for over an hour, and it still survived. That's one tough little
Yeah.
boy right there.
Yep,
And
that is amazing. And you lost your home, and despite the fact that you lost your home, you're out there trying to raise money for the Benitez family. So you started a GoFundMe page. But before we talk about that, talk about your son, Nick, and explain to people what that story is.
Sure. Well, there's such a series of incalculable odds that we got to the point where that baby was there. I mean, we should have evacuated, we didn't. I would never wear work boots in the middle and wake up in the middle of the night. Our room was carved off like an ice cream scoop. It's not there anymore. So if I hadn't woken up, I wouldn't be here today. So there are so many amazing odds. And 3 years ago, my own son, Nick Johnson, he was a water polo player for UCSB. He passed away when he was swimming, doing a practice set, something called shallow water blackout in his pool with his teammates. And the Santa Barbara community is just incredible, and they gather around us and they're really strong. But I think there were so many. One of the only places that was undamaged in our house was Nick's room, where my wife and daughter slept that night. They've not done that in 3 years. So I can't but help think there's some reason. It wasn't me. It was more I feel like I was compelled to be there for that moment.
You think Nick guided you to wake up, to put those boots on, to go outside, and then to hear that baby?
Put our family in a place that's safe, and then to find that baby. That's what I feel.
Yeah.
I can't explain it. I'm not a particularly religious guy, but that's what I feel.
I agree with you. I agree exactly that that's what happened. I think that Nick is also a hero. I do think you are a hero, so I'm not going to take that, and don't take that away from yourself. But Nick also is. So you started this GoFundMe page for the Benitez family, and you've raised how much so far?
So the first, I talked to a local bank. Pacific Western put in $10,000 without even thinking about it, just in the first couple of minutes. I know there are other GoFund pages. It's rising. I just feel that boy is special, and I'd love to see him go to college. I think anything we can do for that family. I mean, the father lost his whole family, but he has a son. And
yes, you're amazing. So here's what I want to do, and I keep saying this, but I am not going to stop talking about this because I know the news has moved on. But this community is such a special community. It's a small town of less than 10,000 people, and I think this is making us all stronger. And we're so proud of that place. And we still have no water and no gas, and there's a lot of issues going on. But there's good that's going to come out of this. And we started a GoFundMe page to raise money for the people and animals of Montecito. By the way, you found the bunny and you found a cat. After all that, you got your bunny and you got your cat. Oh, that's amazing. All right, so as of today, we've raised over $60,000 to give to the people of Montecito and the animals. There's a lot of people that are taking care of animals. I want to do more. So for the past 2 seasons, we've partnered with Walmart to donate millions of dollars to disaster relief efforts, and they're committed to helping communities in times of need. Today, Walmart wants to help Montecito by donating an additional $50,000 in your name to Montecito. And thank you for everything. Thank you, Walmart. And go to our website to find out how you can help, because there are a lot of stories like this, and there are like 400 homes that are lost.